Good morning. My name is Frank Flegg, and welcome to the weekly Frank Partnership podcast. So, we've just finished our weekly webinar with all the members and partners across the country on the Frank Partnership, and here are the headlines. Here are the highlights of our weekly meeting. Um, First off is quote for the day, which is a fab quote by a really prolific writer and massively inspirational self-development and positive mindset author, Jack Canfield. And the quote is, as you can see in front of you, don't worry about failures, worry about the chances you miss when you don't even try. And as I said to the guys this morning, I've recently reviewed the last few years of my property business in terms of the transactions that we've done each month and each year. And there are three or four that are really painful for me to look at. I know that they've lost us money. I used to pride myself for about 6 years. I used to pride myself that no deal had ever lost me money. And in the last 4 years, I've as I say, had a few that have, and they're painful. They are pain. They make painful reading. How, excuse me. However, I think it's important to take the philosophical perspective of it that we are, if we're choosing to take massive action and we want the results and the successes that come from making loads of offers, doing loads of deals, and if you are determined to succeed in raising your monthly cash flow targets, etc., then you are inevitably going to make some mistakes. You're inevitably going to fail on some deals. And the key, and if you read many of the gurus' um, autobiographies, etc., they will talk about, Richard Branson's a good example, talk about him having, he himself says he's had many failures, but because he's taken so much action, they called him the deal a day guy for, for several years, because he's taken such action, the positivity and the successes massively outweigh the negatives, and that was the philosophical point that I got to when doing my review. So I just wanted to encourage you really this week to take massive action, make loads of offers, and get into that position of abundance where you're not trying to hang on to a deal. You're confident that you've got loads of deals. We've made an offer this week. I'll give you an example. It's been independently valued by three parties at an average valuation of 1.1 million. We have the vendors responded to one of our marketing methods. It was actually a leaflet, believe it or not. It's a beautiful Georgian house, 9-bedroom Georgian house, and the offer that they've got on the table from one of our competitors is a £650,000 offer for an outright purchase, which they are going to go for. Unless we can offer them something better, and it turns out we can. We've decided to do a vendor finance flip, so we are helping them out of their current cash flow situation. They are in the position where they are likely to go into default very soon. They have a bridging loan on a high interest rate, and are struggling to keep their head above water, but the property's not even on the market. So what we've said is we'll step in, we'll refinance the property onto a lower conventional interest rate, and we'll help them to sell it. And what we'll do is we'll guarantee them the first chunk of the sale price, and then we'll cover all of the costs, so all of the interest costs, and then we will split the profit thereafter. And we reckon there's between £50,000 and £100,000 in it for us, and it's a no money down deal. We don't have to put any money into helping them to sell it. It will all be financed because there's plenty of equity in the property. And that's a good example of just taking action. The partner, the Frank Partnership partner that found that deal, she has delivered 5,000 leaflets a week for the last few months. And so she has that throughput of leads coming into her business, which she can then cherry pick and make the offers. And interestingly, they came back with a counter offer and said, could you pay an extra £500 a month just to help us with cash flow? And because we have an abundance of deals, we were able to say, I'm sorry, but no, we've made you our best offer at the start. If that works for you, brilliant, let's crack on. If it doesn't work for you, no problem at all. But that is the best we can do. And it gives you that feeling of abundance, that position of, if it works for the vendor, great. If it doesn't, then no problems at all. Few things that I'm excited about. We've come up with a strategy that will enable all of our partners to utilise their capital gains allowances this year. So before the end of the financial year, which will mean that none of those £11,000 capital gains tax allowances will be wasted. So that's quite innovative. We've never done that before, but they say necessity is the mother of invention, and I had a deal fall through, which meant that I wasn't going to use my capital gains allowance by the end of the financial year. So I sat down, pen and paper, came up with a strategy, have bounced it off my accountant. We've made sure it fits within HMRC rules, and we're rolling that out end of the week for members and partners. If you're not on the Frank membership or the Frank partnership, then give us a call and we'll happily share it with you. What else have we covered this morning? We covered speed reading. So some of you might be aware of speed reading, some of you may not. It was a request that we had last month on our monthly training day, and so we've decided that next week, when we're all together, we will do a speed reading session where we will all speed read a book, and I will show the whole room how to basically read a book in an hour rather than in 20 or 30 hours, however long it normally takes you to read a book. So quite excited to be sharing that with the whole room. I think the members and partners are very excited about that too. And finally, we did a poll on everyone on the webinar this morning, and the two questions we asked. The first question was, how many hours a week did you work on property this week? And the answers varied, but the two answers I was most interested were 30% of our partners spent 20 to 30 hours on property, and 40% spent more than 30 hours, and then the remainder was split below the 20 hours. So we've roughly got a 30-30-30 split in terms of three thirds. A third above 30 hours, a third between 20 and 30 hours, which is where the Frank Partnership is kind of pitched, someone working 4 days a week that does property on top, something like that. And then a third of our partners are doing less than 20 hours a week, which you can still make really good money in property with 20 hours a week or 15 hours a week. Now, the second question was a very interesting one. It's how many of those hours did you spend on profit generating activities? So activities that were directly linked to making profit in your business. And what we found was really interesting. It's less than 50%. So if someone was spending 20 hours a week, they were typically spending 6 or 7 hours, maybe 8 hours on profit generating activities. If they were working 30 hours a week, it was typically 9, 10, 11 hours. And that, quite frankly, is not enough emphasis on profit generating activities. In order to be more profitable and more successful, one must focus on the activities that are going to bring them in the money. So let's have a few examples of profit generating activities. Making offers on properties, viewing properties if you make offers afterwards, negotiating with vendors, arranging marketing campaigns and doing marketing, sales activities, so phoning people you've met at networking events, phoning investors who might be interested in JVing with you, going to networking events so long as you follow up afterwards. All of those are profit generating activities. Non-profit generating activities might still be important, but if you spend all of your time doing these, you will go bankrupt. Admin in the office, clearing your email inbox, reading periodicals, reading industry newsletters, etc. Um, um, Compliance, um, planning, educational reading. Now, I'm not saying those aren't important, but what I am saying is you need a healthy balance between profit generating and non-profit generating. And what I found today with the partners was we're probably as a team too far on this side of the scales, and we need to raise our level of profit generating activity. So I thought that was an interesting educational discovery really for us as a team that we need to be working on. So we will certainly focus on that. Next week we have a day together when we will be planning our next quarter. We'll be planning the next quarter of the year, and so this week everyone is reviewing their last quarter, reviewing their goals for the next 10 years, and then when we all sit down next week, we will plan the next 90 days, the next 3 months of our property business, and make sure that we're laser focused on the results that we want to get and the actions that are going to make sure we get those results. I think Jim Rohn says it's natural law. If you sow seeds in the right environment, and you nurture them and you incubate them, it is inevitable that you get a healthy harvest. It's just the same in business. If you take the right actions with the right mindset and the right balance in your life, you are guaranteed success. And that's all that we're doing. We're making sure that all of the Frank partners have healthy businesses that are incubated in the right manner that will guarantee success. So I hope you have a successful week, have a marvellous Monday, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week for next week's podcast. God bless.